You see, one of the biggest traps we fall into as human beings is this habit of constantly replaying the past in our minds. Like an old movie we've seen 100 times but keep pressing play on. We go over what we should have done, what we could have said, how we might have acted differently, and in doing so, we unknowingly anchor ourselves to what no longer exists. That's the essence of thinking in reverse. And here's the truth. As long as your thoughts are tied to what's behind you, you cannot fully step into what's ahead of you. When we dwell on past failures, disappointments, regrets, or even old successes, we're not just remembering, we're reliving. We recreate the emotional state, the self-doubt, the fear, the frustration. That state becomes familiar, and the more familiar it becomes, the more it starts to feel like reality, even when it's long gone. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. So when you keep playing that same old story in your head, you're training your mind to live in a state of lack, of failure, of fear. That's the danger of thinking in reverse. You're not meant to live life by looking in the rear-view mirror. A driver who stares backward crashes. Life works the same way. We learn from the past, yes, but we do not live there. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Every time you catch yourself saying, "If only I had," or "I wish I could go back and," that's a signal. That's your opportunity to break the pattern. Because the longer you focus on what you didn't do, the longer you delay what you can do now. You have to ask yourself, am I rehearsing the past, or am I creating my future? Energy flows where attention goes. So, if your attention is stuck in what's over, then your energy is stuck too. And when your energy is stuck, your results stagnate. It's not because you're incapable. It's because you're facing the wrong direction. We've been conditioned to believe that analyzing the past will somehow give us power over it. But that's a half-truth. Awareness is valuable, yes. Reflection has purpose, yes. But once you've extracted the lesson, the purpose of that experience is fulfilled. Holding on to it doesn't empower you. It paralyzes you. The real power lies in deciding that was then. This is now. The future is built in the present, not in the past. Your thoughts today are bricks for your tomorrow. So every time you choose to let go of what didn't work, of who hurt you, of where you failed, you're choosing to build again. You're choosing to think forward. And forward thinking is where creation lives. It's where growth begins. It's how transformation happens. So stop replaying the scenes that don't serve you. You're the director now. The story ahead is unwritten. And it's time you start thinking like the person who gets to write it. Let go of what's behind so you can finally walk freely toward what's ahead. Your mind is an incredibly powerful instrument. It doesn't just process what's happening around you, it creates what happens next. Every thought you entertain sends out a signal, a vibration, an intention into the world. And the truth is, your life moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts. Whatever you focus on most consistently, whether it's good or bad, that's what begins to shape your reality. So if your thoughts are stuck in fear, regret, worry, or lack, you'll notice your life reflecting that same energy. This is why thinking in reverse is so dangerous. When your mind constantly loops back to what didn't work, what hurt you, or where you fell short, you end up attracting more of the same. Your subconscious mind doesn't judge whether your thoughts are empowering or destructive. It simply accepts them and begins to align your behavior, your perception, and even your opportunities with what you keep feeding it. If you're always thinking, "I'm not good enough, it's too late, I always mess things up," then guess what? You'll find yourself in situations that confirm those beliefs, not because they're true, but because they're familiar. And the mind loves familiarity, even if it's toxic. So you've got to become the guardian of your thoughts. You have to train your mind like you would train a muscle consistently, intentionally, and with purpose. If you want to change your life, you've got to start with what you're telling yourself every single day. You don't just suddenly become successful or fulfilled or confident. You think your way there first. You imagine it, you feel it, you believe it, and only then do your actions and outcomes follow. Thinking forward means feeding your mind with the vision of what you want to experience, not what you fear might happen. It means replacing those old limiting narratives with new empowering ones. Instead of saying, "I've failed before," you say, "That taught me something valuable." Instead of thinking, "I don't know if I can," you choose, "I'm becoming someone who can." That shift might seem small, but it's everything. Because when your dominant thoughts begin to align with possibility, confidence, and growth, you activate a completely different version of yourself. And this is where most people get stuck. They wait until their circumstances change before they give themselves permission to think differently. But it doesn't work that way. Your mind leads and your life follows, not the other way around. So you've got to start thinking like the person you want to become now, not later. Not when the money's there, or the opportunity shows up, or someone else believes in you. It starts internally. First, you decide who you are, and then the world responds to that version of you. You are always thinking your way into something, into a breakthrough, or into a breakdown, into freedom, or into fear. You get to choose. That's the gift you've been given. And when you stop thinking in reverse and start owning your thoughts, really owning them, everything changes. Your life is a reflection of your dominant thoughts. Choose them wisely, because you're not just thinking, you're creating. Most people don't realize how powerful it is to have a vision for the future. Not just a goal, not just a vague hope, but a clear, compelling vision that lights a fire inside you. See, when you have that kind of vision, it acts like a magnet. It pulls you forward even when things are hard, even when you're tired, even when your circumstances don't match what you want yet. That vision becomes your internal compass. But if you don't have that vision, or worse, if your mind is still stuck on past regrets, then you're living your life in reverse. You keep dragging yesterday into today, and it's impossible to move forward that way. Think about it. If you keep revisiting what went wrong, who let you down where you failed, you're feeding your future with the energy of regret. And that creates resistance. It creates doubt. It creates hesitation. You begin to wonder if you're even capable of creating something better. But here's the truth. Your past has nothing to do with your potential. It only has the power you continue to give it. And the longer you look backward, the more distant your vision becomes. To build a powerful life, you must shift your focus from past regret to future vision. That's where the energy lives. That's where momentum is born. You start asking yourself not, "What did I lose?" but "What am I here to create?" and not, "Why didn't it happen before?" but "What's possible now?" And when you make that shift, when you flip the script, you activate a completely different level of purpose. Now, you're not just surviving your life, you're designing it. Vision is what fuels discipline. It's what creates persistence. Without a vision, you're just reacting to life. But with vision, you're leading it. You wake up with direction. You make decisions with clarity. You stop settling because you know exactly what you're building toward. That kind of clarity drowns out fear. It silences the noise, And most importantly, it pulls you out of reverse thinking. People who live with vision don't let the past define them. They extract the lesson, then let go of the weight. They know that the future is more important than the failure, that what they can become matters far more than what they once were. And the reason they know this is because they've chosen to focus their mind forward, not backward. So ask yourself, what do you want to feel, to experience, to build? Not someday, not hypothetically, but starting now. If that future version of you already existed, how would they think? How would they move? What would they no longer tolerate? That's the mindset you need to begin practicing, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but now. Because when your mind is full of vision, there's no space for regret. There's only room for growth. And this is where true transformation happens, not in overanalyzing the past, but in creating a future that inspires you so deeply you refuse to stay the same. The future you want starts with the thoughts you choose right now. If you look at nature, you'll notice something powerful. Everything is always growing, always expanding, always moving forward. A tree doesn't shrink back into the seed it came from. A river doesn't flow in reverse. The seasons don't repeat the same moment. Life itself is designed to move forward, and you, as a part of that life, are meant to grow. You are not meant to shrink. You are not meant to stay stuck in the same mental space year after year. But here's the thing, growth doesn't happen by accident. It takes awareness, it takes decision, and above all, it takes momentum. Thinking in reverse disrupts that momentum. When you spend too much time reliving what went wrong, doubting what you're capable of, or trying to make sense of past pain, you create friction. You're pulling against the natural flow of life. You start questioning your worth. You hesitate. You shrink your dreams to match your memories instead of expanding your vision to match your potential. And in that state, growth becomes almost impossible, not because you're not capable, but because you're not moving with life. You're resisting it. Forward momentum is a mindset. It's a commitment to growth even when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing to keep going when it would be easier to stay still. It's letting go of what no longer serves you. Old identities, old beliefs, old limitations, and stepping into something new. And that kind of growth doesn't come from certainty. It comes from courage. You have to be willing to take a step before the path is fully clear. You have to move before you're ready. Because when you move, life meets you with new opportunities, new strength, and new awareness. Growth never feels convenient. It asks more of you. It pushes you. It stretches your mindset. It demands that you upgrade your thinking. But this is where real transformation happens, not when you're repeating yesterday's patterns, but when you break them and choose something better. When you stop thinking in reverse and start asking, what's possible if I grow beyond this version of me? That's when things begin to shift. And here's something else. Growth doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like discomfort. It looks like letting go of relationships, habits, and comfort zones that no longer match where you're going. But all of that is part of the momentum. The very act of choosing growth, even when it's hard, creates forward energy. It pulls you toward new levels of life that you couldn't access while clinging to the old ones. You weren't created to live in cycles of survival. You were created to evolve, to learn, to expand. Every thought that pushes you forward, even a little, is a step toward that higher version of you. But when you think in reverse, you freeze. You sit in the same place, replaying the same fears, reliving the same pain. And the longer you stay there, the more normal it begins to feel. That's how people get stuck, not because life stops, but because they stop moving. So the question is, Will you move with life or fight against it? Will you choose growth even when it's uncomfortable? Will you allow momentum to carry you forward? Or will you hold yourself back by thinking in reverse? The choice is always yours, but growth only happens in one direction. There's a cycle many people fall into, often without even realizing it. It starts with a single thought, maybe something small, like I'm not ready, or what if I fail again, and that one thought spirals. It turns into hesitation, then doubt, then fear. Before you know it, you're stuck in a loop, repeating the same thoughts, making the same excuses, feeling the same low energy, and getting the same disappointing results. That's what I call a self-sabotaging loop, and it's one of the most dangerous outcomes of thinking in reverse. When you're constantly looking backward, analyzing every misstep, comparing yourself to a past version of who you used to be, or worse, who you could have been, you create mental friction. You don't trust your own decisions, you hesitate to take action, you second, guess every move, and with every pause, you reinforce a belief that says, I can't. But that belief didn't come from your present. It came from your past. And unless you consciously break that pattern, it will keep playing out. The truth is, your brain loves routine even when that routine is hurting you. If you've been in a pattern of overthinking, doubting yourself, or expecting failure, that becomes your mental default. You may not like it, but your mind recognizes it as familiar, and the mind always gravitates to what feels familiar over what feels uncertain. That's how people stay stuck. Not because they're not capable, but because they've trained their mind to expect disappointment. And they do it over and over again. But here's the powerful part. You can break that loop. You can interrupt that pattern at any moment by doing one simple thing, becoming aware of it. When you catch yourself thinking, I've failed before, stop and ask, am I thinking in reverse? When your inner voice says, what if it goes wrong again? You respond with, what if it doesn't? That shift seems small, but it's everything, because awareness is the first step toward change. You cannot change what you do not recognize. Self-sabotage hides behind logic. It sounds like, I'm just being realistic. But what you're really doing is limiting yourself to what's already happened. You're denying yourself the possibility of a new outcome. And what's worse, you're reinforcing that limitation every time you think it, speak it, or act from it. That's how powerful your thoughts are. So instead of rehearsing failure, start rehearsing success. Start imagining yourself handling situations with confidence. Picture yourself succeeding. See yourself staying calm under pressure. Visualize outcomes you want instead of the ones you fear. Because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one that's vividly imagined. So give it new input, feed it new stories, and over time, your mind will begin to believe a new narrative. And when your thoughts begin to change, your habits change, your energy changes, your actions shift. You stop freezing when it's time to move. You stop overthinking every decision. You start trusting your instincts. That's what breaking the loop looks like. It's not always dramatic. It's not about flipping your entire life overnight. It's about catching that one thought, flipping it, and choosing again. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your potential. You fall to the level of your patterns. Break the pattern, and your entire life will start to move in a new direction. Most people wait. They wait for permission. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait until the fear goes away, until they feel more prepared, more confident, more certain. But the truth is, if you're always waiting, you'll always be stuck. That's what thinking in reverse does. It tells you you need to see the results before you can believe in yourself. It tells you you need validation before you can act. And as long as you believe that, you'll never move. But what if you flip that script? What if instead of waiting to become the person you dream of being, you started acting as if you already were? That's the mindset that creates real change. It's not fake. It's not pretending. It's alignment. Because if you truly want to step into a new version of yourself, a more powerful, confident, focused version, you have to start thinking from that place now. Not someday, now. You ask yourself, if I were already successful, how would I show up today? If I already believed in myself, how would I handle this situation? If I were already living my purpose, what would I stop tolerating? That shift in thinking creates a ripple effect. Because when you act as if, your thoughts shift, your energy shifts, and most importantly, your results begin to shift. Why? Because you're no longer thinking in reverse. You're no longer acting from your past wounds or your past limitations. You're acting from the vision of where you're going. And when you do that consistently, you start to bridge the gap between who you are and who you want to be. Here's what most people miss. Your identity is not fixed. You're not stuck in the same mindset forever unless you choose to be. You have the ability to upgrade your identity by upgrading your thoughts and behaviors. It starts with one decision: to stop reacting to your old story and start writing a new one. And it's in your small daily actions where this becomes real. Waking up and choosing purpose over procrastination. Speaking with confidence even when your voice shakes. Taking that risk even when you don't know the outcome. The more you do this, the more you train your brain to believe, this is who I am now. Not based on where you came from. Not based on what happened yesterday, but based on the direction you've chosen. And the universe responds to that level of clarity. People start to see you differently. Opportunities start to find you because you're finally in energetic alignment with the life you say you want. But you can't get there by dragging your past into every decision. You can't keep thinking in reverse and expect to move forward. Growth happens when you claim the identity of the person you're becoming and start living it now. Act from your future, not your fear, because who you decide to be today becomes the foundation of who you are tomorrow.